Hello and welcome to this Euclid 6 webinar for the version 3.16 release that was published last week. So these are some instructions in case you have troubles connecting to the audio today. And you can always also contact us via the Q&A panel in order to ask for our support. This is the Q&A panel that we will use during this webinar. You can post your questions during the entire webinar today, and my colleagues here will answer during the webinar privately. And at the end of the webinar, we will leave as well 5 more minutes to send additional questions. As I said, questions will be answered privately, so you will not see, all the participants are not going to see your questions or the answers we give, but at the end of the webinar, we will address the most frequently asked questions and answer to that. In terms of follow-up after the webinar, we will share the recording of this webinar and the presentation, as well as a written document containing all the questions and answers addressed during the webinar. You will find this video on our YouTube channel under ECA's account, and there will be also a shortcut inside the Euclid website under documentation videos. About this release 3.16 Euclid 6, you might have been made aware of this release by some news alerts we posted on our Euclid website concerning some technical changes that are coming with this release, and also concerning this webinar as well. If you would like to receive some information from the Euclid website, don't forget to log into your accounts and tick the checkbox to subscribe to the different news alerts we have. This is the program for today. I'm François Le Goff, working for the Euclid product management team here at ECA. And today during the webinar, I will be assisted by my colleagues Tommy Haag and Claudia Rimondo for 2 agenda points. We'll start with the scope of the new release of Euclid, and we will have a specific session of this webinar to discuss more in details the web user interface and the Poison Center notifications. Before we start with the content of this release, I would like to give a short reminder of the different distributions that exist of Euclid. There is only one Euclid software, but it's distributed and made available in different ways. The first one is the desktop version. It's for single users who have their own computers and would like to work with Euclid on their own computer, their own database. Then we have also a different installation possibility on the server that can be shared with multiple users inside an organization or a company. The third distribution channel we have for Euclid is the ECA Cloud Services. These are instances of Euclid that are hosted by ECA, and it's for Reach and CLP users. The ECA Cloud Services instances have been updated to the latest Euclid versions on Sunday prior to the release, so already 8 days ago. And this was done transparently to the users, so now if you log into your cloud services, you will have access to this new version of Euclid 6 that was made available on Wednesday last week. You might have noticed as well, if you are an ECA Cloud Services user, that we updated slightly the name of the services in order to show that these services are not limited anymore to SMEs, small and medium enterprises, but they are available on, now to all Reach and CLP users. We have updated the terms and conditions to also allow the creation of Poison Center notifications. Let's go to the content of the Euclid 6 3.16 release. And here you can see an overview of the scope of this release. Further enhancements and new functionalities have been brought to the web user interface. We have also introduced a new guided dossier approach to create Poison Centers notification using a wizard-like approach. And we have included other fixes and improvements as well. And I will start with that. My colleagues will continue on the 2 other part of this release. As part of the different fixes and improvements we made to this new version, we have, as announced earlier in March already, we have switched to OpenJDK. So this is something that is technical and that is going to be transparent for the vast majority of the users who are using, for example, the desktop version. We have just changed this component, this technical component of the application. This information is more relevant for the administrators of Euclid server because they have to check based on the new statement by Oracle that they are not going to update for free Java 8 starting this year. They will have to check which version of Java they can continue to support based on their operating system. We shared some information on the Euclid website and in our installation manuals, so you can refer to that if you want to have more information. In ECA, we have opted for the Red Hat distribution of OpenJDK. If you host a Euclid server and you make Euclid available to many users in your company, you will have to decide whether their computers should be updated in order to replace the free Java software, or whether you can continue to use this software in your company. Otherwise, we recommend the use of the Red Hat JDK, and you have all the details in our news alert on the Euclid website and also in our installation instructions. But again, for the vast majority of the users, the Euclid desktop users and the cloud users, no change is required. There are different improvements included in this April release. In addition to the web interface, we have also improved the import process in order to offer the possibility to import summary of product characteristics XML files generated from the SPC editor provided by ECA. This is mainly to support ECA and member state competent authorities processes around these files, but the feature is available to all users. So if you have these SPCs already available in the SPC XML format and you would like to see how this information looks like in Euclid, you can import this information and it will be available transformed during the import into a Euclid dossier. There are also some small improvements made to the web interface, such as the grouping that has been removed in the list of substances and mixtures. We received some feedback from users since November that it was not really convenient to group all these substances and mixtures and their dossiers under one entry in the list. So now we have removed this grouping, and when you open the list of substances and mixtures, you can see all your dossiers and datasets and directly open the dossier or dataset you are looking for. We have also added an indication of which legal entity is assigned to a dataset or a dossier, and this is visible now in the list of substances and mixtures inside the web interface. And at the same time, we have updated the help, the user manual for the web interface. So when you go on the Euclid website or you access this help directly from the user interface, you have access to an updated content. If we continue through the list of fixes and improvements, I would like to mention new reports that are available inside Euclid. You can now generate from a substance or a mixture, dataset or dossier, the list of literature references, and this is available as CSV format, a structured text format. You can also preview your Poison Centers notifications as a PDF file, and we did several improvements to existing reports. So all these reports are included in this new release of Euclid, and you can also download them on a dedicated web page on the website under Euclid Product Report Generator. These report templates can be useful if you want to customize them, slightly modify them, and using the Report Manager functionality of Euclid, you can import these modified templates or your own templates to generate the report you would like. I would like also to mention some improvements made to the validation assistant to enhance existing rules to make them more self-explanatory. And we have also worked on the new series of rules for poison centers notifications. You will find all the details of the changes brought by this release in the release notes published on the Euclid website. You have the link here in the presentation, and you will be able to find this information also after this webinar. I would like to finish this part about the compatibility. It's what we call a service release, so there is no format changes and no impact on the compatibility with this Euclid version. It means that you can still exchange data with all Euclid 6.3 or Euclid 6.2 versions. And this new version of Euclid can import all the files in Euclid 6 or 5.6 format. The format changes are made only once a year in October in what we call a major update of the application, and I'll come back to that topic at the end of the webinar. I will now hand over the mic to my colleague, Tommy Hag, who will go through the main changes added to the web user interface. Tommy, thank you.
Thank you very much, Francois. My name is Tom Hag, and I also work for the Euclid team here in ECHA. Today I will quickly talk to you through the changes that has been applied to the web user interface for the April release. As you all know, the new Euclid web user interface was already made available to the Euclid Cloud users in mid-2017, and we started introducing it to all Euclid users in October 2018. Of course, the target for the web user interface is to eventually switch over from the so-called classic view to a full web user interface. And in order to do this, we want to make sure that we have all your feedback. So we ask everyone to start using the web user interface and share with us your comments via the help desk and inform us if you would have any specific things that is causing problems by using the web user interface. Based on the feedback, we will adjust our plans and align the implementation. How do you get to the web user interface? For the cloud users, it's there by default. You will always end up in the web user interface, and if you want to use the classic interface, you start it from the menu. If you're using the distributed release, from the start page, you can either start the web user interface or the classic interface. On the desktop version, we have something that we call the pre-launch screen. In the pre-launch screen, that's the engine that starts Euclid, and from this screen you can either start the web user interface or start the classical interface. You need to keep in mind that this screen needs to stay up during the usage of Euclid, otherwise Euclid will stop. So as I said, we released the web user interface already in October with the most basic features. And now to the April release, we have continued the development with a target to get all features implemented in due time. One of the new things that we have implemented into the web user interface now in April is the advanced dossier creation and import. This means that you can now, in the web user interface, create a dossier using the advanced options, excluding the document selection step that is still to be implemented. But otherwise, you can filter out confidential information and so on. And at the import stage, if you're using the IBS function, you can choose which groups in your system has access to the imported file. And at the same time, you can also decide how the import deals with existing data. In order to get to the advanced import, you have a drop-down box on top of the import box to select. And to get to the advanced dossier creation, you see a small button next to the Create Dossier button with 3 dots. And this is how you get to the advanced settings. As Francois briefly mentioned, we also implemented the report generator into the web user interface. So now you can launch all of the reports. The only thing we're still missing here is the managing of the reporting. So if you create a known report, this you will have to enter into the system using the classical user interface still. As a first implementation of the Euclid inventories, we have for the April release implemented the reference substance management into the web user interface, which means that you can now view your reference substances, manage them, create them, and edit them without going to the classical user interface in the background. We also implemented the field calculator, which can now be run on every dossier. So if you want to figure out how much your dossier would cost to be sent to ECHA, you can run that, and there's the outcome will tell you the fee based on your company size and contents of the dossier. If we go over to a set of improvements that we have implemented since the October release based on user feedback, I want to start with talking about the improved document navigation. So in the October release, when you opened up a document, you didn't have an easy navigational option to get to the rest of the content of your dataset. So this has been now changed. So when you open up a document to edit, you will see a full table of contents on your left side, and you have an easy one-click navigation to the other document for editing or viewing. Also, the so-called tree on the top that explains you how to navigate has been extended to cover the documents that you are in. Another thing that we got a lot of feedback on was the view and edit option that we had in the original user interface, and we were always asked why we are still separating between viewing and editing. So now with the April release, we are releasing for the first time something that we call the inline editing. So with the inline editing, there is no longer a distinction between the view and edit mode. As a user, you highlight the fields by moving the mouse over the sections, and then you click on it, and then the field becomes editable. Once you have edited whatever you need on the document, you click Save, and then it saves to the database. At the same time, we have also improved the reading and viewing by changing the color. As you can see, the topic is blue, the text you write is black, and we group sections with blue frames and larger sections with white boxes. The rich text editor was causing a problem in the October release. So for this release, we have updated the component used. So now we're using something we call Tiny MCE Rich Text Editor. It handles tables and copied content much better. And here's an example on how a table has been made by using the new component. We hope it will satisfy the users. Another thing that we do and changed in order to simplify the data validation process is that from the already very fluent validation assistant, we now made it so that when you click on a link in the validation assistant, the section that you are supposed to be fixing is opening up in what we call a sliding window. So you will always keep the validation report in the back, but the location that you need to fix will open up in front of you. This has still not been changed into the so-called inline editing mode. So here you will have to click Edit to correct, and then save, and then close and return to the validation assistant list. We spent quite some time on improving the dossier comparison report. It was available in October, but now we made sure that the report provides more information. It improves the navigation between the parts of the report. It improves the information related to documents and fields, which are different. And it gives a quite good overview of the contents of one or more dossiers. When you choose to compare two dossiers, there is a very simple choice to tick and say that you only want to compare different versions of a dossier made from the exact same substance. We also improved the dissemination preview report, mainly to make it easier to read. So now its ordering of dossier component follows the comparison report hierarchy. The ordering of the section documents is based now on the reach section numbers. And also the dossier header confidentiality claims are listed at the beginning of the report and not in the middle as they were before. And that concludes the current update of the web user interface. I will now hand over to my colleague Claudia Rimondo, who will talk you through the implementation of the Poison Center notification into Euclid.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Claudia Rimondo, and I work in the Poison Center team here in ECA. My task today is giving you an overview about how you can build your Poison Center notifications using the Euclid Cloud. But first of all, let's start with a brief introduction about the regulatory framework, meaning why did we develop this tool. So according to Article 45 of the CLP regulation, appointed bodies of the member states are responsible for receiving information to formulate preventive and curative measures in the event of emergency health response. Now, this information has to be provided by importers and downstream users before placing their mixtures on the market. And again, this information refers only to those mixtures which are classified as hazardous for their health or physical effects. Now, Annex VIII to the CLP regulation, which was published in March 2017, clarifies that this kind of information has to be provided in an harmonized way, meaning that the same information requirements have to be submitted to all EU member states. The information has to be prepared in an harmonized format, which is the XML format, the Euclid format. And this information can be submitted to the member states using the national submission systems, or it can also be submitted via the central system provided by ECA, via the ECA submission portal, and then be dispatched to the related to the relevant member states. Now, the deadline to provide the information in the new harmonized format applies in a stepwise manner according to the use type of the mixture. It means that importers and downstream users, if they have not already notified at national level, they have started notifying for mixtures that are for consumer use from 1st January 2020. For mixtures that are for professional use, the notifications have to start from 1st January 2021. And for mixtures that are for industrial use only, notifications can start from 1st January 2024. Now, if the notification has already been sent at national level, the duty holder has time until 1st January 2025 to update the information according to the new harmonized format as foreseen by Annex VIII. Keeping this in mind, ECA has developed this tool to support industry to prepare its PCN notifications. As you can see here in the slide, when you land on the Euclid dashboard, as you could already see by Tommy's presentation, you had the possibility to import your Euclid files, and then you can easily navigate among the mixture datasets, the substance datasets, and the list of your dossiers that are under preparation. From here, you can also easily access the ECA Cloud Services, the ECA Submission Portal, and all the other functionalities related to the management of your accounts or the logout functionality. Now, when you click on Guide Dossier Preparation, you reach a page with the list of all the dossiers that you are preparing. And here you can find dossiers that are both for PCN notifications or for REACH, for instance. If you want to create a new one, you just have to click on New and select the type of submission you want to prepare. In this case, it will be a PCN submission, meaning Poison Center notification. The first thing that you have to do when you start creating your PCN dossier is to establish the dossier context. And in order to do this, you have to go through a couple of steps. In the first step, you will provide the name of your mixture, which is mandatory, and the name of your dossier. In the second step, you have to indicate the so-called PCN number, which is a number that the poison centers use to keep track of all the related notifications. You can automatically generate this PCN number by clicking on the circular arrows on the right-hand side of the field. Then you have to indicate the countries where you want to place your mixture and the languages you want to use to build your dossiers. Then you have to flag the alternatives to the standard information requirements, meaning if you are preparing a limited submission or a voluntary submission. And then you have to verify the type of submission, meaning is it an initial one or is it an update, for instance. In this case, in case of an update, you are also asked to provide the reason for updating. Then you can move forward and you land on the so-called navigation page, where you have a part to continue with your data entry and another area of this page where you can validate your dossier, create or preview the notification. Now, when it's time to create your mixture information, you have to click on mixture information and you are redirected to the mixture information task page that you can see on the right-hand side of the slide. Now, the information task page, mixture information task page is organized in 6 different tasks. The contact person, the pH, the toxicological information, the composition of the mixture, the unique formula identifiers, the UFI and other identifiers, and the classification and labeling of the mixture. Each task can contain additional subtasks, and the information that you provide in each task is organized in so-called records. Now, when you want to create, to fill in your tasks, you can either create new record if no information is already available, or use existing information. There is something important to mention, and it's the fact that according to the languages that you select in the dossier header, the tool provides a number of free text fields that are available in multiple languages. And here I just brought you an example of one of these free text fields, which is the toxicological information. The toxicological information is mandatory when you prepare your dossier. And in this case, in the dossier header, we have selected as languages Finnish and Swedish. So it means that when I reach this point, the tool gives me the possibility to fill 2 different free text fields, one for Finnish and one for Swedish. The toxicological information is not the only free text field that you can find with this feature. You will find these features also for free text fields in the classification information and in the labeling information. In order to build the composition of your mixture, the tool gives you the possibility to create the single substance components and your mixture in mixture. For the substance components, for each one of them, you can indicate the function and concentration, the identification of the substance itself, and the classification and labeling information. For the mixture in mixture, you can provide the function and concentration, the UFI, the composition of the mixture in mixture, the classification and labeling, and when relevant, the supplier and the safety data sheet. Now, bear in mind that when you have to provide the composition of your mixture in mixture, you will have to list all the single component of your MIM, mixture in mixture. From the navigation page, you can easily move to the product information task. And here you can provide all the information related to your product in 3 different steps. The first step is the step called product identifiers. And here you can add the trade names or other names you want to use to identify your product. and the UFI and other identifiers related to that specific product. You have to indicate again the countries where you want to place the product, bearing in mind that the countries that you list in the product information task have to be consistent with the countries you have selected in the dossier header. Additional information can be filled in the third step, and this information is about the color and physical state of the product, its packaging when it's relevant, and its use category. Once all along the preparation of the dossier, you can validate your dossier. You can just click on validate, and the validation assistant runs automatically. The validation assistant carries out a number of checks according to predefined rules to verify that the information provided is as expected. And the outcome of the validation is a validation assistant report listing all the failures that eventually have been encountered. When you click on the title of the failure, you are automatically redirected to the area in the dossier that need your input or that need a review. Again, from the navigation page, you can create your dossier. And when you click on Create Dossier, you are asked to revise again your dossier header. The validation assistant runs automatically again. And then, if the creation of the dossier is successful, you can open it and visualize the detailed information that you have included. You can find the dossier that you have created in the mixture dataset. And you can recognize it because it is marked with the lock symbol. When you are in the dataset view, you can click on those three dots on the right-hand side of the screenshot, and you can select the option Export to IUCLID. In that way, you can export your dossier and save it on your computer. All along the preparation of the dossier, you also have the possibility to preview your information in PDF. Once you have exported and saved your dossier, you can submit it using the ECA submission portal, whose entry point is available from the ECA Poison Center website. In this website, you find not only the link to the submission portal, but also to other details and information that can support you in the preparation and the submission of the notification. Further information can be found on the Poison Center website. The regulatory guidance is available on the ECA website, and you can always contact us using the ECA contact form. And now it's time for a Q&A session. So now you will have 5 minutes to continue sending your questions, and we will come back to you with our answers at the end of this time. Thank you.
Yes, welcome back to this webinar. We will now be answering some questions you have sent. There were some technical questions. First, there was a question related to the updater. So if you have already IUCLID 6 installed on your computer, you might have seen that we are proposing now updaters in different flavors. So one for Windows, one for macOS, and one for Linux. This was not the case in previous versions, but now with this change of Java version to OpenJDK, we have to provide one version of the updater per operating system because the Java software is being replaced and is operating system dependent. So please download the correct updater for your needs, whether you are a Windows user, macOS user, or Linux user. Some people have noticed also that there is no 32-bit compatible version of the updater or the installer. This is because the vast majority now of the computers are supporting the 64-bit versions, and the updater we propose on our website can upgrade a 32-bit version to a 64-bit version. So it's better for you to try whether you could install the 64-bit version on your computer, which comes with a better management of the memory, and it's faster to use. In case you still have some issues or you need a 32-bit version, please contact the help desk and we will provide you with the correct installer and updater. There was a question also concerning the compatibility of data. The question was that a company was using with clients who have Euclid 6.1 and this company was using Euclid 6.3. So the question was how to exchange data between the two companies. So the company who has the latest version can import all the files that are generated with Euclid 5.6 or Euclid 6. There is no problem on this side, but we recommend the clients who are using Euclid 6.1 to upgrade their installation. What we support is the full compatibility between two Euclid 6 versions, but not between two successive major versions. So this means that at least once every 2 years, you would need to update your Euclid installation to the latest version. If you have the possibility, we would recommend also you to move to the ECA cloud services, because then these updates are done for you on your behalf by ECA. There were some questions concerning the web interface. There is a question concerning the whether if you are using the web user interface and sometimes you switch to the classic interface, will the changes be saved in the same database? Yes, so all the changes are done in the same database, whether you use the web interface or the classic one. That's why we recommend you to use the web interface if you have the possibility, and only when you are blocked or you are missing a feature, you should go back to the classic UI user interface in order to prepare for the transition to the web interface. Some questions concerning the Poison Center's notifications. The first question is about the system-to-system submissions. For the time being, this is not supported, but this is something that will be put in place later this year. So you will have the possibility, if, for example, you are generating dossiers, Euclid dossiers without Euclid itself, and you would like to submit dossiers to the PCN portal without doing some manual steps. You could then connect your system to the PCN portal to submit more easily these dossiers, multiple notifications. More information about system-to-system integration will be made available on the Poison Center website. There is a question concerning the use of the classic user interface to build Poison Center's notification dossiers. This is not supported. We have decided to build new features only in the web interface from now on. So these Poison Center's dossiers have been implemented only since this new release of Euclid, and they are available only in the web interface. You might have seen my colleague Claudia presented the fact that you can enter for Poison Center's dossier, you can enter some piece of information in different languages. And this functionality is not possible in the classic UI. So you will not be able to build fully complete dossiers with using only the classic user interface. To continue with the submission of data in different languages, some of you have noticed that not all the fields allow to be entered in different languages. For example, the substance name is not available in multiple languages. This is because we have made available inside the Poison Center's notification wizard only the fields that have been identified by the PCN user group as being relevant to be submitted in different languages. We have provided this possibility in the user interface, so not for all the fields, but only for the fields identified as relevant. If you want to submit different substance name, you can always add different synonyms if you use different names for your substance. But the main identifier used by ECA and by the Poison Centers will be the UPAC name. To continue with the multilingual fields, Do the notifier need to translate the free text fields? Yes, the relevant free text fields have to be provided in different languages if you submit in different countries where the requirement is to submit the information in their own language. So for example, the human health information in the safety data sheet should be provided in multiple language. So if you are placing your product in different markets and the information needs to be provided in different language, you have to translate this information and insert these translations inside the dossier. Still on the poison centers notification, there is a question, can these dossiers already be submitted using the PCN portal? Submissions can be made, but more information will be available on the PCN portal to inform which member states will accept these notifications via the portal only, or when the member states will accept also notifications directly to themselves. This information is also available from the poison centers in the different countries. The deadline is the first deadline for the submission of the PCN dossiers is early next year. There is a question concerning the validation report received by poison centers or appointed bodies for the PCN dossiers. Is the validation report the same as the one that you can generate from Euclid? It is the same for this part, but the PCN portal is including additional rules as well that need some contextual information to be checked. So most of the rules can be run in your Euclid installation, but additional rules are going to be executed by the PCN portal. You will see the outcome of this verification after your submission, and this report will be made available to the poison centers. To continue with the poison centers notification, there is a question asking whether a person asking whether there is a difference between online and offline preparation of the notifications. So you have seen that PCN dossiers can be created in the ECA Cloud services, but also in your desktop Euclid versions if you install the latest release we have now. And it's exactly the same functionality currently. Later on, we will work on a better integration between the cloud services and the PCN portal, which means that it will be a bit easier to submit dossiers that have been prepared in the cloud compared to having dossiers that have been prepared offline. If you prepare dossiers offline, you will still need to, for example, export the dossier and upload it again to the portal, while we are working in a way to more easily make available the dossiers prepared online to the PCN portal. There was a question also regarding the compatibility with Quasar. Is Quasar compatible with this latest Euclid version? Yes, it is. So if you have installed the latest version of Quasar that was made available at the end of last year, it's going to work with this new version of Euclid. There is no update of Quasar planned now. The next one is together with Euclid, the Euclid major release at the end of the year. I'm just checking if there are other questions. There were some questions regarding the plans for the web user interface and the transition from the classic user interface to the web interface, but I will address that when closing this webinar. So I would like to conclude this webinar with a few words concerning the Euclid 6.4 update at the end of the year. And I'll also give you some places where you can find more information on the different websites managed by ECA. So first, this is the recap of the transition to the web user interface as communicated already at the end of last year. The web interface is introduced for the first time since October last year, and this is a new service release that has been made in April this year, where we have continued the improvements of the web interface, but we still provide both the classic and the web interface. Our plan was to have only the web interface available in October 2019, but we will, in the transition between April and October, we will keep on monitoring the use of the web interface in order to plan this phasing out of the classic interface. So we will see whether the classic interface would remain for at least one more release in order to provide the relevant features that are not yet available in the web interface. So what we are planning is to keep an eye on the usage of the application. We will interview users, we will collect feedback via the help desk in order to identify what are the critical features that are not yet available in October. This is what we have in our implementation plan. We still have to provide the following features in the web interface in order to completely stop the provision of the classic interface. We have prioritized a bit these features in terms of usage of the feature and importance for the regulatory work. We are going to work for the October release on the implementation of inherited templates and categories. We'll work on user profiles and entity management, such as legal entity sites, legal entity contacts, test materials. We will also implement basic search functionality and the document selection in advanced settings. You see at the bottom of the list other features that we consider for the time being as lower priority for the web interface, which are the inventory manager, the advanced report manager, the copying documents as reference, the calculators for the DNL and PNEC, and the user and roles management. It's an indication of the things that might not be available in October this year and that would still require to use the classic user interface. We are going to decide whether we would leave only these remaining features in the classic user interface, or whether we will leave all the features of the user interface in the October version. This will be the object of a survey we will do with our users to investigate the different options in order to make sure that the transition to the web interface can happen, because the current classic interface is reaching its end of support. That was for our plans for Euclid 6.4. 6.4 is also a major release, which means that we will also have the possibility to update the format of Euclid. And these are the reasons identified for this October release of Euclid. For the format changes, we will take into account the new templates and the templates updated by the OECD within the OECD Harmonized Templates group. We are going to take into account also the latest revision of the CLP regulation and the latest revision of the GHS system, the Globally Harmonized System for Classification and Labeling. We'll take into account the nanomaterials information requirements introduced by the update of the REACH annexes. We will also work on format changes to support members of the OECD Euclid group, particularly Australia and New Zealand, who are users of Euclid. And in total, we will address 46 different topics in total that are coming from different requirements collected amongst our stakeholders. You can still find more information about Euclid on our website. Have a look at the video tutorials if you want to see what is available in the web interface. We have also some Euclid Cloud videos in order for you to see whether it's worth for you to move to the ECA Cloud services. We encourage you to subscribe to the LinkedIn group if you have a LinkedIn account. This is a place where we exchange information, the latest information with the users. We have almost 800 members in this group, and this Euclid group can be used to ask questions and share information between the interested Euclid users. I would like to inform you as well about our next webinar, which will be dedicated to biocidal product regulation users. It will be on the 15th of May at 11 a.m. or Helsinki time. We will address topics that are specifically relevant to this group of users, like creating and navigating inside a BPR dossier, using the report generator, and using the comparison tool, for example. You have the link here, or if you go on the ECHA website under webinars, you can have more information about this event and also subscribe to this webinar. Thanks a lot for your participation. We see that you are still posting some questions. We will answer them now with our panelists colleague here for the next 5-10 minutes. And we will make sure that we answer all your questions, and they will be introduced in a written document that we will publish on the Euclid website after this event. So don't hesitate to ask more questions, and we will collect all the answers in this document. As I said, the presentation and the recording will be available as soon as possible after this webinar. And thanks a lot for your participation. Bye-bye.